Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 104. 5 iconic things from the 2000s that raised us. So guys, in today's edition of the Rabbit Hole Roundup, first I want to say Happy New Year.
I'm having a New Year's Eve party.
I hope that everyone's New Year got started off on the right foot and got started on the right track. And even if it hasn't, I hope that by watching this video, hopefully this helps you more to do that. So I'll be starting off by looking back at the 2000s. Because I have some really fun things I want to talk about, whether it's Club Penguin, as well as many other iconic examples that define the 2000s, as well as help to shape us, those of us who grew up in the 2000s. And no, I don't want to sound like a grandpa.
I love the young people.
But just as a way to take us back for a bit to some super fun moments in time. As well as also to enlighten any of my younger listeners. Following that, I want to share a story about someone from my Instagram feed who inspired and warmed my heart by recently sharing their first ever story, or rather their first ever speaking story video. And you can definitely tell how nervous they were, but I loved how authentic it came across. After that, I'll be sharing a clip coming from Positive Kristen on Instagram, where she tells us why small gentle pushes are how you actually make long lasting changes and not these massive seeking out pain and massive discomfort. That never works, it's so often dangerous, and doing that is likely going to set you back.
You must defeat your reason before you can start living like Larry.
After that, I have a clip coming from Phillip Rivers, quarterback, talking about his love for the game and what drove him to want to make this comeback. It's of course super powerful, and of course to close up this episode, we have a ton to discuss sports-wise, whether it's week 18 in the NFL as well as playoff predictions, and also of course NBA talk too. So anyways, without further ado, let's dive deeper now.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean not subscribe to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. All links purchased it on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JaredRyanWeiss.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all those some shirts in there as well. Every shirt has been designed by me, every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton, so any support at all, as I'm always saying, will be very much appreciated. So let's dive deeper into this rabbit hole now. So I'm going to start off this episode by talking about 5 parts, 5 iconic things that define the 2000s and that helped to raise us. So now, I don't want to sound like I'm getting old, because I'm definitely not.
I ain't old like you. I ain't old.
And as anyone who knows me can attest to, I will always be a kid at heart. But now that it's 2026, I want to look back at some of the most fun, iconic things from the 2000s. So at number 1, we have Club Penguin. I'm not sure how many of you out there remember this, but this was so much fun. I totally remember being in 5th grade, and during computer class, all of us would be on our computer trying to sneak behind the teacher's back, and all of us were playing Club Penguin. So for those of you who don't know about it, or for those of you who don't remember it, everyone got an avatar who was a penguin. And there was also an early social media aspect to this as well. Now you got to dress up your penguin, you also got to design your house or igloo. With all this really cool stuff, you had multi-floor plans, you also had lamps and all this other really cool stuff. Some of the things you actually had to pay for with actual real world money, which I'm pretty sure I did. But then you also had the chance to earn coins by playing games, such as a pizza or candy toppings game. There was also a sledding game where you actually got to verse your friends in it. You can also get a job at the coffee shop. And later on, they also had a card game which actually took strategy. And honestly, this wasn't really antisocial, because I totally remember calling up my friends, and all of us would enter a specific server, and plus you could talk to people too. This of course complemented AIM, which I forgot to add to my list, but that was also great as well. The early days of social media. Anyways, Club Penguin was awesome. Number 2, and this is something my brother and I still love to play, which is MLB Showdown cards. I really wish this made a comeback, but I'm not even sure if this could actually be replicated properly. And some of these cards were worth a lot of money. I remember spending tons of my birthday money on buying some of these legendary hologram cards. So what it was is you'd open up a pack of baseball cards, and each player had a set of stats on them. You have home runs, singles, doubles, etc. And the pitchers had a number for control and what they quote-unquote gave up at. So then you would use dice to roll, and each number correlated with a specific event happening. So let's just say the pitcher had a 5 control, and you roll a 10 and the batters on base was a 10, you would then look at the pitcher's card because the pitcher's roll plus their control outweighed the batters on base. But if let's just say like the pitcher rolled a 2 and the batter rolls a 20, most likely it was going to be a home run, and like you were going to look at what was on the batter's card. This was and is still a ton of fun, and it was like such a great thrill to open packs. You got to see like if you got a hologram or a legend, because the game had guys like Willie McCovey, it had Willie Stargell, Harmon Killebrew, and the better the player, the more rare you would find them. And also like certain players had power-ups too, and these power-ups were actually based on like real-life awards. So like if the person had MVP, that meant something. If the person was the best pitcher in the season, like won a Cy Young, that meant something. And the best part was actually building up your team over time. So like my brother and I currently have like stacked teams. And then also like going to camp during this time, everyone was trading these. So it was a super fun time, and a shame that like they stopped making these. Number 3, I'm going with MTV and music videos. So we used to actually sit around watching music videos on MTV. This was like after radio but before Spotify and Apple Music, the in-between phase. So much of the rap or pop songs like most of us discovered came from seeing videos on MTV. It was a super fun way to find new artists, and of course I love Spotify and Apple Music, but it was really cool. And furthermore, MTV used to have like some awesome shows, one in particular being Pimp My Ride. Today's generation unfortunately will never experience this amazing show. So the show was hosted by rapper Exhibit, and he would like find these people who had really broken down cars, and he would then take the person out for like a day or two, and his crew of car people would basically, for lack of a better term, pimp out the ride. They would give it like all these totally unrealistic things. So for instance, like you have like an aquarium in someone's back seat, or you'd also have like an Xbox lounge or like a total video game lounge. I remember some people's like back seats actually had like stairs in them. It was crazy, but it was also like so cool to see. I remember like all of us used to joke around about getting one of my dad's cars on the show because it was like so broken down and gross at one point. But anyways, it really awesome show that like defined the 2000s. Sticking with the TV aspect of the early 2000s. Now I remember like this was before streaming services and Netflix, so like there was actually good TV at this time. So at number 4, Nickelodeon was peak during this time. On a weekend night, it was always like so much fun to either be with my babysitter or my brothers or a friend would come over sometimes. And maybe it was like the newest SpongeBob episode or Fairly Odd Parents. Or you had All That, an amazing show which had Amanda Bynes or Drake Bell, Josh Peck, Kenan Thompson.
Amanda, that's enough popcorn. I know what I'm doing.
Nice going, Amanda.
And all these skits like they put together were all hilarious. Plus you also had like all the Nick award shows. Of course you had the best shows like Drake and Josh, iCarly, and others that came out in the following years. But this was like peak television, especially for a kid in the early 2000s. Now finally, coming in at number 5, although like I'm sure I can make a whole nother list, I'm gonna say the video games, but that's just like the ones like all of us know about. I mean, for those of you who grew up in this time, you know like there were so many options before all the monopolies took over. So not only did you have like 5 different systems to choose from, but it wasn't just simply Madden or 2K. You had NFL Street, NFL Blitz, NBA Ballers, NBA Street, NBA Live, and each game like had its own twist on the game. This is why like to this day, basically the only system like I still play for the most part is PS2 because like it has the best games period. And I'm probably gonna make like a top 5 list on the best games for that at some point. But you also had like Need for Speed, you had ATV Racing, then you had Wii Sports, you had Mario Kart, you had Mario and Sonic, you had GameCube with Monkey Ball. I could totally keep on going with this, but I definitely miss like how creative they used to get with these games. Now once again, just to be clear, I'm not getting old, and I will always be a kid at heart for life. So this isn't me being a grandpa and being like, look back in my day. But I thought it would be fun like to take you guys back, or show any of like my younger listeners what that time was like for me. Anyways, let me know if you guys remember any of these things in the comments below. Now next up, I want to share like a really cool story and something that like I saw on Instagram the other day that honestly warmed my heart.
You've got greatness in you, Rodney. Never doubt it.
So a few days ago, someone like who I used to go to camp with years ago, and someone like who I also ran into at my gym a few years ago, and at the time both of us followed each other on social media, and so if I'm not mistaken, up to this point, he never posted any talking videos onto his page. Then he posted a couple story videos, because like he said like he felt called to do it, and I thought this was amazing and super inspiring. Because you can tell like he was super nervous. I mean, he had never done something like this before, and yet he conquered this fear and crushed it, I think. I love seeing it.
You're Batman.
Yeah, I am Batman.
And I'm not even sure like if you realize how powerful this was, and I hope like this helps inspire other people, or help them like with taking chances. Now also what I loved about this is that it wasn't perfect, and like it wasn't flawless, but so often what's better than perfect is authentic. And don't get me wrong, I'm a perfectionist and like I always have been, and I do love that about myself. However, of course, sometimes I'm too hard on myself.
What can I do anything right? Ah!
So it's like I've been dealing with these massive health challenges, like massive speech challenges, as a result like going through a whole life-threatening illness, and like subsequent healing journey which I'm still on. And yet I chose to have a podcast because like I felt called to do so. And so sometimes I'm like, well, what if people don't understand me with all my speech challenges? And they've even done like some unedited podcast episodes, and I've appeared in other podcasts even with like my stammering and stuttering. Now I would totally do that on here too. However, the reason that like I don't do that is because like I want the focus to be on my message, and like I want my message to come across as clear as I can, and I want the focus to be on that, like as opposed to highlighting like just like my speech challenges and like all the like I'm overcoming, I guess. But of course I am always talking about it. Anyways, what I loved about this guy's videos was how authentic he was, and I know like so many of you out there have said like how much you love this about me. Yes, I do some editing, but what I don't edit is my message, my personality, my beliefs, and who I am, and like I tell you guys everything coming from the heart. I'm extremely open with all of you on my social media. There's people out there who I can't stand listening to because everything like they post feels like an act or a performance.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
But as like anyone out there will tell you about me, is that I'm the same person on camera as I am in real life. What you see is what you get. I'm not just acting or faking who I am for views, because I value what's real, and I'm not about like the whole performative or over dramatic just for views.
I'm not changing. I like me.
I can see like right through it whenever people do that. It's like it's one thing if you're talking about something that's like super deep and it brings you to tears, but it's totally different when it feels like the person is like an actor in a movie who's like forcing themselves to cry. So anyways, I thought this was really cool, and if you're watching, keep it up, please, because I took notice of your courage, and I'm sure others did as well, and you knocked this one right out of the park, and I hope like when people watch me, they feel the same way, and are inspired to do like exactly what they feel called to, even if it's not perfect, and like even if it doesn't sound 1000% spot on flawless. Next up, I have a really great clip coming from Positive Kristen on Instagram, which is actually perfect timing for New Year's, because it's all about making changes but like doing so in a healthy way. Let's watch together.
Science shows that you need to be gently uncomfortable in order to grow your capacity without burning out. And I'll give you 3 neuroscience-backed reasons why. Reason number 1 is that gentle expansion actually changes your brain, and it helps you become the version of you who handles more with ease. If you don't do the work to reprogram your brain, then you'll continue to live in the same reactive loops your nervous system memorized. In order to reprogram your brain, you need to boost neuroplasticity, which is just your brain's ability to rewire itself. And neuroplasticity happens when you take small, gentle steps with regulated energy, aka becoming more grounded and being gently uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't change through forcing massive action. Actually, it rewires through consistent stretching. Reason number 2 is that stretching boosts confidence and momentum and gives you clarity. Stretching is also self-trust, which will keep you moving when most people freeze or give up. And reason number 3 is that your reticular activating system filters your world based on what you're stretching with. So when you're gently uncomfortable about your growth, your RAS makes sure that you spot opportunities, people, and pathways to match it. Your stretching becomes the lens that expands your reality. How cool is that? Bottom line, you don't need to get out of your comfort zone like everyone says. You need to stretch it because...
So, as she said, it's about gentle uncomfortable and pushing the needle slightly in order to grow. It's not about like these massive waves and pushing through, because first off, that can be dangerous.
This looks pretty dangerous.
Yeah, you said it, buddy.
And can hurt your nervous system, which is of course designed to keep you safe. And also can be super unwise because most likely those changes aren't going to last. Perfect example. It's the same thing when it comes to my whole healing journey from a life-threatening illness. So a huge part of my healing process is about like detoxification and getting rid of like heavy metals and toxins. However, as I know now firsthand, you can't rush this. because every time you try to do like a big push before your body's ready and before your body's like properly hydrated, you're going to set yourself back and you're going to get massively uncomfortable symptoms. So I've learned that it's best to work with your body and listen to it and give it gentle pushes, which like slow and easy, but that's where all the healing actually happens. It's found like in that sweet spot. Same thing when it comes to training or any like training goals you may have in this new year. If you're someone who's never lifted or never exercised, you don't just put 2 plates on the bar or run for 5 hours. No, it's about daily deposits that are going to add up over time. It's not about chasing pain, but pushing a little bit past your limits every day. And once again, those gentle nudges are going to add up over time versus the person who tries to make it all in one shot. And yet, in this whole David Goggins era, who I love like and I am a huge fan of, but we, or at least I have to be careful, I know, not to take these things too literally and seek out unnecessary discomfort. Back in high school, I was that guy. I would find all these ways to make my training harder than like it had to be, and I was actively seeking out pain.
Look, guys, my advice wasn't meant to be taken literally.
But that wasn't smart, it wasn't safe, and this is also like why, as I've gotten smarter with my training, I've also gotten way better results. Now finally, before diving into this week's sports recap, I have a clip coming from Philip Rivers, which actually ties in perfectly with the main topic of this video, about the iconic parts of the 2000s. So let's listen to him describe his love for the game, and why he came back.
That certainly wasn't the motivation. I wasn't chasing glory. I wasn't chasing the Super Bowl. To be completely honest, I wasn't. It was just a chance to play again that came out of nowhere. And I have felt and heard about some of the impact, and certainly thankful for that. Obviously, all these guys, right, over a 17-year career, you get a platform where you hope you can impact people, and that wasn't the motivation behind it. But I'm thankful that maybe it has, because I was scared. I was scared, nervous, unsure, and I knew the safe bet was to go back to the house. But the only way to find out if you could do it was to stick and come back out here a little bit out of shape, or a lot out of shape, whatever you say, Strahan and Howie. Hey, this game's always been from the neck up for me anyway. I was never a physical specimen to begin with. I really want to help this team win today. It's not about me, hasn't been about me, didn't want it to be about me, but I want to help these guys win. It's been a tough slide for them, and a lot of injuries and a lot of mishaps, and this locker room's hurting for a win, and I want to be a part of that winning locker room here this afternoon.
So of course, as we all know, 44 years old, 5 years post-retirement, and he comes back to play 3 games for the Colts against 3 of the best defenses in the NFL. And as I spoke about last week, I felt like this was a massive success. Yes, they didn't win any games, but he gave his team a chance to win every single one of those games. And all things considered, he played really high-level football and did way better than like anyone out there could have expected. As he said, the only way you find out if you could do it is to put yourself out there. And this is like such a valuable lesson for anyone wondering if they should go after that big goal or try something hard, even with no guarantee of success and possibly a high probability of failure. And this sounds a lot like what Joe Flacco was saying a few weeks ago about taking on challenges and wanting to show his kids why you do that, like when he went to Cincinnati. And this is what I love about sports, whether playing or watching. Sometimes it goes amazing. Sometimes it doesn't go how you hoped, and you learn and get better from it. But above all, if you have a love for the game, as Philip Rivers clearly has, honestly, you can't lose. Sometimes, and this is something like I so often lost sight of, the joy should come just from playing the game. And honestly, that's when you're going to play at your best. Not when you're putting tons of pressure on every play and every moment, but when you're just being loose and having fun with it. And that's of course what made it so awesome seeing Philip Rivers come back. Seeing him out there, trash talking and pumping his fist once again, it was an absolutely amazing story while it lasted. Anyways, on to this week's sports recap, NFL Week 18 as well as going into the playoffs, and NBA talk as well. Let's go now. So to start this week's NFL talk, we're going Week 18 as well as the whole ending of the regular season, and now into the playoffs. So let's start with the games that had the biggest playoff implications as well as divisional races. And this is of course going to be today's focus. So actually, exactly what I predicted was going to happen, happened in Game 1. The Buccaneers beat the Panthers 16-14, and Baker of course put together a super gritty performance, and yet the Panthers still move on to the playoffs because Atlanta beat the Saints. This happened exactly how I drew it up. However, the refs also totally screwed over the Panthers in that game, with some super bogus OPI calls, that of course really hurt the momentum in the Panthers offense. Bryce Young did in fact go for 266 and 2 touchdown passes, but he also threw a pick, and Baker went for 203 with a touchdown on a pick. Then of course the Atlanta Falcons rattled off their 4th straight win against the Saints this time, And Kirk Cousins, one of my favorite quarterbacks, moves to 5-3 on the season as the starter. He threw for 182 with a touchdown and a pick. He found Drake London in the back of the end zone. Tyler Shark put together another really strong game too, although he had one crucial mistake, which of course turned out to be the pick 6. However, he was working with no weapons in this game, and the Saints basically ran the same play over and over again. So eventually the Falcons were going to read the play, and that's what happened. Shark was in fact by far the best rookie of the year. However, Cam Ward did end up putting together a solid stat line, even with zero help and zero coaching either. So anyways, back to the Panthers. Their reward for finishing 8-9 and winning that division is having to face the Rams first round. Good luck with that is all I could say. In game 2, my prediction did in fact turn out wrong. It happens. I'm not like Nostradamus. The Seahawks got their 14th win of the season in a super low scoring game against the banged up 49ers, who were missing Trent Williams as well as Ricky Pearsall. I was thinking that Brock Purdy was going to carry some of his recent magic and recent momentum into this game, but that was not the case, as he only passed for 127 yards and also had that tipped pick on the pass to McCaffrey. Now, not putting Purdy down at all, but this also shows me how impressive what Phillip Rivers did a few weeks ago against the Seattle defense was. I mean, once again, just to reiterate, 5 years after retirement, and yet he goes up against the Seattle defense who's been destroying opponents, and he manages to put up 16 points and give his team a chance to win. And while we're on the topic, yes, Riley Leonard looked incredible in his start against the Texans. He had 3 total touchdowns, even though of course the Colts still lost. But I saw some people online who were saying they should have started Leonard all along, and Phillip Rivers was actually a huge mistake. However, I think I need to remind you guys of all this. So first off, they still lost the game to the Texans. Also, Phillip Rivers gave his team a chance to win in every single game he played, and at least 2 or 3 of those losses were on the defense and were not on Rivers. And plus, Leonard was hurt, so he wasn't going to play anyways. He hurt his knee in that game against, I don't remember who it was. He does look super talented, don't get me wrong, but Rivers did his thing too. So now I'm going to skip ahead to the other biggest game from this weekend, which honestly capped off the NFL regular season in the best, most ideal way possible. We had the Steelers and the Ravens. So the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Ravens 26-24 to win that division and save Mike Tomlin's job probably. But where this game really got exciting was in the fourth quarter. Both Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson put together absolute masterpieces in that fourth quarter. So first off, credit to Lamar, who played through an injury basically all year, I would have to say. And there was also all this talk of him wanting to leave the Ravens after this year, which still may happen. Or there was all this talk of him quitting on the team. But that escape sack and deep touchdown pass to Flowers or Likely, I don't remember which one. It was a thing of beauty. Lamar finished this game 11 of 18 with 3 touchdown passes. And also Derrick Henry of course did his thing on the ground, as he had 20 rushes for 126 yards. He's a beast and probably should have had more carries too, but a lot of that came down to the whole time of possession. Now on the flip side, Aaron Rodgers, this might have been one of his most impressive games that he ever came up with. And that's of course saying a lot as a Packers fan. He had no DK Metcalf, no Darnell Washington. He was throwing to a 35-year-old Adam Thielen, who I love seeing game Rodgers trust in this game. He of course had the deep touchdown pass to Calvin Austin, and he was also throwing to Pat Freiermuth as well as Gainwell and Warren. He went 31 of 47 for 294 and a touchdown, and he was throwing beautiful ball after beautiful ball and threading the needle time and time again. Now the sad part of course is that this game had to end with a missed kick, and I feel so bad whenever this happens. It sucks that Tyler Loop had to miss that kick. I hope he keeps his head up. And hey, if it weren't for him, we'd all be talking about Boswell's missed kick too. Anyways, on to my playoff predictions round 1. So this is probably the most wide open playoffs in recent memory. I mean, you have no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar, and a bunch of new teams who are entering the mix. So let's take a look at some of these matchups. First up, we have the Panthers hosting the Rams. And so as I said before, good luck to the Panthers, because this game is the only one that should be a blowout. Yes, I know the Panthers did have that crazy upset of the Rams a few weeks ago, as in that game Bryce Young became Superman, and I also stood up into Rico Dowdle a lot, but I don't anticipate that happening again. Devontae Adams is of course returning for the Rams, so I believe the Rams are going to win this one pretty easily, and I predict a huge game coming from who I believe to be the MVP, Matthew Stafford. After that, once again, the rest of the playoffs is honestly a total toss-up, but I'm going to try my best to analyze these matchups. So then we have the Bears hosting the Packers. And I'm going to be honest, I may have a little bit of bias here because of course I am a Packers fan, but I'm going with the Packers in this game. In recent weeks, as well as for much of the season, the Bears started off horrible and then Caleb Williams just turns the switch in the fourth quarter. but the Packers almost and should have pulled it off like a few weeks ago against the Bears, even without Micah Parsons. And of course, Micah Parsons is still going to be out in this game. But I love like that the Packers signed Trayvon Diggs off the Cowboys, so that should help out the secondary a lot. And you also get a healthy Jordan Love coming back too. I think the Packers steal this one on the road. Then on Sunday you have the Bills going up against the Jaguars on the road. And before looking at this bracket, I was thinking like the AFC was the Bills for the taking. And I have gone back and forth on this game in particular, but I do think the Jaguars are for real. Trevor Lawrence, ever since adding Jacoby Myers, has been like on an absolute tear. And you have Parker Washington, you have Brian Thomas, you have Travis Etienne, like all playing at a super elite level. And that Bills defense has been pretty bad basically all season, especially in like their secondary. And also, of course, the Bills relied too much on Josh Allen to do basically everything for them. So I think like in a year where the Bills should be the team to come out of the AFC, and hey, I'm not saying it can happen, but I don't trust that defense enough. So I hate to say it, but like I'm going with the Jaguars, but once again, it very easily could be the Bills who come out of the AFC too. Anyways, moving ahead, next game we have the 49ers going on the road to play the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Eagles. I honestly have no clue what happens here, and like, let me explain why. So the 49ers, as we all know, like are super banged up, and just found that like Fred Warner's replacement, Bethune, is done for the year too. But I also don't know what to make of the Eagles this year either. This is not the Philadelphia team from the past few years. Ever since the whole AJ Brown controversy, they've of course been forcing the ball to him, and Saquon hasn't had like much of a role in that offense at all. The defense though has looked really good and like shut down Josh Allen last week. And so as much as I would like love to see the 49ers continue their story, as they've overcome so much adversity like in all the injuries, and that team is also like so well coached, in this toss-up game, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles, just because of like their experience. After that, you have the 2-seeded Patriots taking on the 7-seeded Chargers, and I'm actually picking the upset here. As we've all heard about in lieu of the whole MVP talk, the Patriots have had like the weakest schedule, I think like in the past 10 years, I believe. Maybe even more than that, I don't remember the number. But I do think the Patriots, similar to the Bills, are either the team like who gets bounced in the first round, or maybe like goes to the Super Bowl, as basically all these teams are, honestly. But we're going to find out early if that success is for real. I like Justin Herbert, and I think the Chargers defense is going to put heavy pressure on Drake May, and possibly force him into some turnovers. And as good as he's been all year, I foresee like a few mistakes in this game. And so I think the way like the Patriots win is by sacking Herbert 10 times, which of course has been pretty easy for most teams this season. Of course I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I do still like the Chargers to win this one. And finally on Monday night we have the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, high off their miraculous win against the Ravens, hosting probably the hottest team in football, the Houston Texans, who rattled off 9 straight wins to end the season. And of course they also have the best defense in the NFL. But I'm going with the Steelers. I think Rodgers has looked great basically all season, and you're also getting a motivated DK Metcalf coming back off the suspension. So Rodgers is definitely going to have like his deep ball threat back. TJ Watt also looked great the other night. And Rodgers found some magic with Adam Thielen, Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, and also of course the running backs. And now you give him back his best weapon, I think he finds a way to pull this one out. I don't fully trust CJ Stroud. I mean like he has been better in recent weeks, but he's also been carried by like that amazing defense for so much this season. I think Rodgers and Tomlin figure them out just enough for like a close win. And if I'm picking the Super Bowl based on all that, even though like it could be horribly wrong, I'm taking the Rams against the Broncos. The Rams, in my opinion, are still like the best team in the NFL despite their recent struggles. I love Matthew Stafford like and what he's done with that offense all season, and you give him a healthy Devontae Adams once again. Plus, of course, Puka Nacua has played unreal this whole year. You have the dynamic run game of Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. They have the best weapons in the league right now. And of course, they have their MVP at quarterback, who makes that whole operation run smoothly. And honestly, the Broncos, I don't really trust them fully, but I trust them more than like any other team in the AFC right now. Plus, of course, they're going to have home field advantage throughout the whole AFC, which means cold weather. They have super clutch Bo Nix at quarterback, coached by Sean Payton, who of course has Super Bowl experience. And so I say the Broncos are probably the best of the whole questionable bunch, I suppose. And now one final point about the whole MVP conversation. I said it last week and I'll say it again. This should have been locked up weeks ago, I think. It's Matthew Stafford. He's 11 more total touchdowns than Drake May. And he had the strongest strength of schedule compared to Drake May's weakest strength of schedule. And of course the players themselves don't decide that. But in the year where Stafford's division was 14 wins, 12 wins, and 12 wins, he faced Seattle and the 49ers twice each, as well as like the Jaguars, Eagles, and Bears, and like he lit up basically every team. So with that schedule to have 9 games of 3 or more touchdowns with no picks, that's unbelievable as far as I see it. Now let me dispel some of the Drake May stuff in my opinion. Of course, amazing season, like, and super credit to him. But do you know how many passing touchdowns he had this season against teams who had a winning record? I think it was either like 0 or 1. Now do you know how many Stafford had? 20. And for the people saying like Stafford has the better weapons, yes, I do agree with that. And like I do give him the slight edge there. But don't forget, like, the Patriots also added Stephon Diggs this year, and Travion Henderson had like an amazing year at running back. Plus this whole talk got heated up in a week where Drake May put up 5 touchdowns against the Jets, while Stafford had his worst game of the year against the super hot Atlanta Falcons team. And yes, he threw 3 picks, but like, he also didn't have Devontae Adams, and he threw 2 touchdowns in this game, and gave his team a chance to win at the end. For the people out there who are using the whole similar opponents argument, the difference there is pretty negligible, and so I value the whole winning opponents argument way more than that. And finally, for the people who are saying like Stafford has 15 touchdown passes within the 1 yard line, well, he's also like the league leader in passing yards, so how do you think they get there all the time? And second, throwing touchdowns within the 1 yard line is not like an easy thing to do. That shouldn't be a knock on him, because it requires perfect ball placement and giving your receivers a chance to catch the ball. This shouldn't be a knock on him considering like how many teams struggle to score in the red zone. Anyways, now for some NBA talk to finish things up. First up, I have to take yet another victory lap on the sports segment of the Rabbit Hole Roundup. So I was right about Joe Flacco balling out in Cincinnati. I was right about Kirk Cousins still having it. And now for my latest edition of Jared Was Right, was with Caleb Love. I said it like a few weeks ago, and you guys check the receipts. I have past videos talking about him. I said that if the Blazers give this guy a legit opportunity, he's gonna shine. He has super confidence in himself, and yes, like, of course he's a super streaky shooter, but when he gets going, he's tough to stop. The reason that like I knew this was because watching him in college, of course he had a great career at UNC, but his final year at Arizona during a tournament game, even though like his team lost, I remember watching him thinking like this guy has to be an NBA prospect. He put up close to 40 in that game and was hitting tough shot after tough shot while being covered and double teamed even. And now coming off the bench for Portland in recent games, he has 17 points, 14 points, 18 points, 24 points, 22 points, 16 points, etc., etc. This guy can ball. Now for another case of where Jared was right this week, is when it comes to LA Clippers, who like I was telling you guys to watch out for. They've now won like 7 of their last 8, and Kawhi has been on a tear, averaging close like to 40 in his past 7 games, I think. Don't sleep on that Clippers team. Elsewhere in the NBA, KD's been cooking for the Rockets and like keep up a game winner against the Suns last night. My favorite team, LeBron and the Lakers, won 2 straight against the Grizzlies. However, my level of concern still hasn't like dissipated totally just yet. I do think LeBron's been playing great. He found his rhythm once again, which of course I totally expected and like I love to see it. I like what I'm seeing from Jake LaRavia a lot. And I love what Marcus Smart brings to this team. And of course, Luka is Luka. It's just like some teams are a matchup nightmare for them. Because, of course, 3 of their best players don't defend at all. And some don't even give an effort to make it even look like they're trying to play defense. Luka. Hopefully the Lakers can find a way like to mask that. Plus I hope that like Dalton Connect gets more minutes. And finds his time within that offense. Because I think if you give him more chances, he's going to become like electric. And it sucks like how this past year he found his way like out of that whole rotation. Now finally, I posted a tweet a few weeks ago talking about like Zachariah Risache, I think is how you pronounce it. So I saw like the Hawks were shopping around Risache after not being happy with his development, and I said like I think this is ridiculous, but this is like part of the whole social media instant gratification era that like we're all in. He's 20 years old, averaging 12 a game on like 45% shooting, and you're saying that like you're unhappy with his development? I find that crazy, but of course this is like what's been happening in like all sports right now. We give up on guys after 1 or 2 seasons. Why not actually work with the guy and like build up his other skills? And I get it, a number 1 pick, but of course like it was a weak draft. And even if like he's just a good player his whole career, that's how you build a team with like enough good solid players. It doesn't always have to be like the superstars. So I think if you have like a definite rotation player who can score, that's a win. Not every draft is going to have the superstar player, but to give up on a 20-year-old is mind-boggling. Anyways, that's your sports recap for the week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's finish up the video now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed hearing all the nostalgia. Hope you guys enjoyed like all the topics and the sports talk. If you guys liked what you heard, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. Catch you next time. Peace.